Hey everybody, welcome back to Landshark Garage. You know what? We think we got this figured out. I found some wires. I had to replace this ignition switch, and I found some wires in there that weren't making the right contact. We can get the starter to turn over off the engine with the key switch, so we should be good. So we're gonna try and fire this thing. But first, we got to clean up this crime scene from the rear seal on the transmission, which we're going to replace too. Here we go. All right, that did cure our problem because the engine does turn over now, but since it was up in the air, I decided to fix the transmission leak we didn't know we had until we put fluid in it. Taking the drive shaft out, of course, I had some issues. So now we get to put a U-joint in the drive shaft. That's an original U-joint. You can tell by that strap. This is an original German short hair, black version, finally recognized by AKC. He's a good dog, he's a good boy. Another way you can tell on GMs, anyway, when they do this U-joint, this 534G, they squirt hot plastic in there to hold this cap in. There's no snap ring, interior, inside or outside. It's just this plastic, so we're going to have to heat this up and get that plastic to come out of there, because you won't be able to drive that out of there without doing that. I got to do it on both yokes, and then we'll put a new U-joint in. Most common U-joint on GM 534G. That's what this one is. So let's play with some fire and see what happens. This is my U-joint drive shaft and jig. I just toenail a 1x6 or 2x6 to my bench just so I have something to support it back here and stick it in my vise. I don't really clamp it in my vise, and I hate doing U-joints. There's nothing worse in the world than doing U-joints. But let's watch what and see how this works. Take that metal thing off the bottom of there.
Oh, I was. You freaking can't just shake something in my face.
Frickin' magnets. So anyway, yeah, when you lose all your needles, this is what you get to do, which is the worst job ever. Horrible. And I don't have a big fancy torch. I've never had one. Probably, if I had one, I don't know, I'd burn the damn garage down, I'm sure. But as you heat this, that little worm is going to come out of there. You can see it glowing there already. The worst part about this, not the worst part, the scariest part when you do this is that sometimes that grease gets warm enough to go pow! And scare the crap out of you. Hopefully we won't have that problem. Usually you're using a bigger torch to do that. And then this is hot, so you're not, you don't get to work on it right away. But it must have been a good idea, because 80, we're at, what's that, 42 years? 1980? 92, yeah, 42 years that U-joint held up, and I'd have ran it until I dropped all the damn needles all over my floor taking it out, which never fails. We used to do a lot of U-joints when we were circle track bunnies. Not so much anymore. This kind of torch takes a lot longer to warm things up, but you can see it starting to come out of there. Just heating up that, there's a channel in there that this plastic goes into, kind of like a kerf that's cut into it. And let's take it from the factory. When they fill this up, they just put that hot plastic in there. I don't know if they still do this, but see how it kind of comes out like the snakes, 4th of July, like little kids use. That's how it'll come out. as we get it heated up. And if you don't get it all out of there, you're just wasting your time beating on this thing. It's got to come out both sides. We fill it in both sides of each cap. Mrs. Landshark offered to buy me a torch, but I might have to take her up on that. It's not in the budget this year. I got this little gizmo here. It's just a big piece of steel that fits right on that cap perfectly. Perfectly, I tell you. And you just kind of give her the old college try. I put a little piece of tubing underneath there to kind of support this yoke. Having a little better luck that way. There. Easy peasy, make me feel sleazy. Is that how that goes? So you can see that ring of plastic. I probably should have heated that just quite a bit more to get that all out of there. But I'm going to clean this up. I got a brush that I used to clean the holes and stuff up, and we'll put the new one in. So now that I got this done, let me show you how I did it. I usually take an old U-joint cap like this and put it in here. It's actually a smaller cap than what it calls for. I have quite a little collection of caps that I use, and then I use the vise to just tighten it in and just slowly push it in while tapping on it with a small hammer like this one I was using, and it just kind of relieves the tension on it, and it goes in. And then there's two inside snap rings is what holds it on afterwards after you take that plastic out. Some have outside snap rings, some have insides. There's a little channel right here, and I just drove that snap ring into both of them. I'll put the caps back on it after I get it under the car and in there, so that I don't lose any needles in the car. I just want to make sure this is loose on here and not real tight. This is still actually pretty warm. See how that's... Mrs. L's doing a great job. See how this is tight? That shouldn't be like that. So you kind of just tap around on your yoke. And get that to loosen up. See, it's getting looser. And that, it just, you want it to move freely in there, and it's just because of the tension of forcing that in there that makes it bind like that. So I usually beat on it for a while till I'm comfortable with it, and then I put it in. This one's a little tighter than I like. So I'll probably work on that a little bit before I put it in. This is a seal we took out of the back of the transmission. Got at least 4 rot spots in it. Just, if you got a transmission out, just change the seal. That's just being lazy. That's on me. So that's why we had the bloodbath on the floor and the broken U-joint. Add an extra 2 hours to trying to get this thing started. Here we go. It's in park. Steering wheel sitting in the seat. Tools all over the floor. It does turn over. I put some gas in it. Let's see. Well, that's how long it turned over. Now let's see what happens, babe. Let's see what happens. That's some nasty looking gas in that filter.
Do I have to give it gas?
Nope, I got that. I'll take care of
I
that.
was gonna say, because I can't get to the gas pedal. Ready?
Yep. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Whoa. Getting edge singed?
How's that? That was pretty cool. Okay, try again. So there we go. Finally got it running. A little noisy with them open headers, but we're gonna get some things straightened out, and then we're gonna take her out for a rip, tater chip. So anyway, today is Wednesday. We started messing around with this starter on Friday, trying to get it ready for a car show. I've had the starter in and out 7 times.
2 different starters.
2 different starters, yeah. We ended up having a problem with the switch, which we just talked about. And then I was using this alternator bracket as a ground, and it just seemed like it wasn't grounding right. So I moved that ground wire down here on the block. After I cleaned that up, I took my battery in and tested it, and the other night when we were turning it over, it was just sluggish. So this is the starter we started out with. Does that make sense? The starter we started out with? This is the starter we begin
that
with.
did not work to begin with.
And it did not work, so we took it off, assuming bad starter. Bad starter. Was not a bad starter. We don't know that. Bench test's okay. In turn, we put on this starter. See how close it is to the garbage can? Because I did not make it when I threw it. That starter is the one that was dragging down so bad yesterday. So we went to our local auto parts store and picked up a starter for a Vortec 97 to 2000, I'm sorry, 9799 Tahoe with a 5.7 in it. Gear reduction, high torque starter. Bolted that in, snapped right off. So obviously there was an issue with that pile of garbage sitting over there. Not my beautiful wife. The starter that's sitting next to the garbage can. Don't think we have an issue with that, but in the whole totality of the circumstances, with the switch in there, the ground problem, and the starter, this is a well-deserved break. So we're gonna get this thing out and take it for a rip after we get them beautiful plug wires guided in. We got her running. And then the 42-year-old radiator took a nap. So we'll fix that. Work out some other kinks. Really nothing major that I can see. We got some fluid running through the transmission to make sure that's working. Brakes feel okay. Everything else feels okay. 8 months. 8 months we've been working on this. She's a beaut, Clark. Can't wait to actually drive it down the road. How about you? Can't wait. And you know what? After we drive it down the road, we might just put it for sale. It'll be in the comments if it's for sale. So if you're looking for a beautiful mullet machine, here it is. Thanks for following, everybody. Never forget, drive your shit. We'll see ya.